What's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Woo, I gotta say, I just made this coffee and oh man, it is really hitting the spot. It has this phenomenal nutty flavor. I'm not sure if that's the right word to use for YouTube, but guys, today I want to be talking about, wait, I was just about to say the NASDAQ, Sonos. So you guys know, if you were on the stream yesterday on Friday, Sonos, we mentioned very quickly. Now, I obviously don't talk about my investments too much on the stream because it's very distracting, because the streams are for day trading small caps really only. And then anytime you start talking about investing, dividends, yada, it gets really messy. So I wanted to make this video where I want to talk about Sonos, a recent entry I did, and explore that a little bit. So right now I have the NASDAQ pulled up. And the reason I have the NASDAQ pulled up is because, like we do on our streams every morning, is we want to make sure we have an overall concept of what the market's doing in general. Right now, the NASDAQ is at a high. It's up from about 64% move from the lows here. This is really aggressive. Now, we are touching 9-minute EMA, so there is a chance of bouncing, like we've already had a few bounces in this area. And oftentimes, sometimes you'll hold these areas a little bit. You'll have one less retest or something like this. Who knows? Maybe we're going to try to do another retest here. So right now, the overall market is really strong, and the reason I'm using NASDAQ is because Sonos is a NASDAQ company. You can see here, Sonos is listed on the NASDAQ. Now, recently, Sonos, or the ticker SONO, broke out of a key resistance area. Now, you got to be careful with these key resistance zones because oftentimes you'll get fake outs, and this is a clear zone. I mean, this was a support. Originally, we broke this area. We had a retest here. We had a fake out here, and this is right around $16. We've had many times we've come close to this area, about $15. We've had retest, again, fake out, and then now we are really retesting this area. And this is actually the first time we're breaking out and having holding over here more than a day. So I was like, okay, this is actually looking kind of interesting. Let's see how we can play this one. So first, let me talk about the technicals a little bit, and then I will mix in some fundamentals I've been kind of going through here and making a post about. So obviously, you guys want to do your own due diligence, but I think sharing some of this information with you guys could be a good, eye-opener. Maybe you guys already know about a lot of this information, but I also have a friend who is a hardcore user of Sonos himself, and I was talking to him a little bit about it, so I want to share some of those insights with you guys. So let's get started here. And first of all, I guess I'll just go ahead and show you guys my position because it's already showing right here. But if you just go to the hourly, which is one of my favorite kind of swing trade time frames, you can see that we broke above this area. And you guys know I'm a momentum trader. I like trading breakouts, not necessarily the breakout, but oftentimes the pullback. I like trading support zones. Those are some of my kind of bread and butter plays. So here we have a nice little breakout. I actually bought the retest here. A pretty decent entry, actually. Don't always get those fills. Sometimes I miss them by a few cents. These are always a little bit risky. I try to front run a little bit because my original order was actually at like 16 something. I don't know, 16.7 or whatnot, which actually would have worked this time too. But I missed the AAL entry and I missed my space entry. Did I miss another one? I don't know, maybe. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting so annoying. Two trades that we've reviewed on this channel, and then the stock goes up 10-15%, and I'm like, oh God, that was exactly the trade I wanted. So this time I went ahead and front runned a little bit from the 16, and all front running means is you just place your limit order a little bit above where you think it will actually reach. Because sometimes, risking 0.5% or so is worth the entry, honestly. I say this a lot on the channel. You're never looking for perfect entries, perfect exits. You're trying to get the meat of the move. If there's a 20% move, if you walk away with 5-10% of that, that's great, right? It's all about getting those kind of a nice chunk out of it. Because if you're looking for the perfect top, perfect bottom, you will, trip over yourself. You're going to stumble, and sometimes you get it. It's beautiful, but oftentimes you kind of just miss a move. So a little tangent there. Anyway, we got a nice little entry here pre-market. This was a limit order I set as I noticed we had breakout with big volume. And then, we went up $17. We were up almost $1 a share. I was like, okay, this is not too bad. I have a decent position size. But then, gave it back all in the morning. So let's just quickly go here into the morning. And this is actually really funny. The last price was at 16.15, and I'm exactly at break even. Up here, I was up about, what percentage was this? 5%, and then I was down here like 2% or so, and now we're at break even. So this is always one of those zones where I'm like, this is not my favorite place to be. I usually on a breakout, I like to see this continuation. So at this point, I was already pretty excited. I was like, this is looking strong, but now we're kind of stumbling in this area. I probably would risk about 5% on this one. So that's coming down here, and I would probably even consider averaging down if that was the case. And I'll talk about why that's my case a little bit more when we go through the fundamentals. But let's quickly go here back to the daily chart. So if we can break this zone here, if we can break the $20 zone, and we're already retesting here at 16, or if we can break the $16 zone, hold this area, hold the highs for once, this bullish trend should and could probably continue. And then I would look to maybe either take profits at the 18 or maybe a breakout past the 18. Although that would be, pretty aggressive on my end. I typically take profits fairly quickly. Similar setup here with SPCE that we had. So let me quickly see if this chart loads. Okay, yeah. So this was like such a depressing trade right here. Okay, so we broke here of 20, big time resistance. You can see we had a resistance here. We broke the resistance. We ran this to the upside. We hit support. We broke down this area. Retest, and breakout. Right. That's kind of what I'm looking here with space with Sonos. So here the key $20 area that we broke out. Who knows how high this is going to go? I don't really see it going too much past this $27 zone. Even $25 is huge resistance. So I don't know. I'd probably already be taking profits in this area. So let's go back to Sono. So yeah, what I'm looking for is that test of 18, maybe take some profits, maybe buy again on a dip. I don't know. This is going to get a little bit day tradey if we start doing stuff like that, or I write it out a little bit more. I could always talk about this more if you guys find interest on this, how I actually end up trading it. But just know right now I'm looking for a bit of a swing trade. I wouldn't mind holding this several weeks if that was the case. I'm pretty open-minded. This is in my Roth IRA account. So this is a trade that I'm not taking any funds that I need for day trading. This is a very specific fund for holding longer. And I think that's a really, really important thing to always think about. Are these funds that I'm allocating, do I need them for something else? Can I let it ride a little bit longer? You always want to go in with that kind of attitude. So if I don't touch this position for a few weeks, that's cool. If I close it out tomorrow because we break 18 and I have a nice spike that I want, that's also cool. But I am open to potentially averaging down a little bit. So far, the $16 is holding, which is a good sign. So let's see what happens. Let's talk about some not necessarily fundamentals, but in a way, overview of the company. So bird's eye view, I mean, a lot of you guys may or may not know this. Sonos is an American audio company based in Santa Barbara, California. You guys can go through all this on your own time. I'm actually gonna leave a link to this in the video, first link in the video. No, it's gonna be a link in the comment down below. I don't know. You guys get the point. In my comment, in the pinned comment, you're going to see a link to this. Here's something, and I want a big thanks to my friend Sebastian for kind of pointing a lot of this out. Obviously, you guys want to do your own due diligence, and this is just kind of one perspective with a little bit of mix in from my own perspective. But let's talk about this a little bit. Long-term perspective, important points. They serve a very niche product category. It's kind of on the middle to high end of an overall speaker system. You could obviously go much, much more fancy, but you're going to be shelling out, if you want to do your living room, your smart home or whatnot, probably over $1,000. And you could easily, it's very modular. It's easy to buy a $400 speaker, and then before you know it, at the end of the year, you have speakers all over your house and they're all synchronized. So it's kind of one of those things you could, you get into like the Apple ecosystem more or less, right? You get maybe a smartphone, and then before you know it, you have a tablet, and then you have a laptop, and then you have Apple Home, yada yada, and it's a very easy to kind of dive into. Upscale, computerized networked audio solutions. We'll talk about a little bit more about this. Mainstream product. So yeah, it's kind of turning into this niche thing. Now, I'm not crazy about speakers myself, but I have learned a lot about them. I recently dove into it a little bit more myself. I have Bose headsets. I kind of enjoy the overall higher quality, especially with traveling on an airplane. But what I have realized is that Bluetooth is just constantly annoying, and there's huge lacks in Bluetooth. Now, what Sonos does, and what's a big trend right now, is everything connected over Wi-Fi. So it's really cool how Sonos works. It uses your Wi-Fi system, and that allows for much more sync and responsiveness. and probably more things than I could probably say correctly, because again, this is not my forte, but that's kind of what I have understood. Can I deliver? Yeah, going through this a little bit more. So one trend that I wanted, kind of two true trends. So I think I always look for, as a momentum trader, I always look for kind of two different catalysts of news. One, micro news specific to the company, and Sonos has been making a lot of progress, coming out with constant good PR. They're kind of a leader in the space. So that's a good micro trend or micro news. And then overall, it has kind of the macro trends behind it. So the smart home trend is, getting bigger and bigger. I mean, this started decades ago, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And then here's a big thing just recently that I think might really boost their next earnings report. And I've spoken to this with several people, and I've also heard from shop owners. I've read articles about this. There's a big shift of individual discretionary income spending during Corona. So people are planning less trips, they're traveling less, they're going to less bars, they're spending less money on kind of these instant gratification things, I would say. And they're kind of investing it in nicer items. I spoke to someone that owns a jewelry store recently, and they also said they've had a huge peak in people buying higher end items than ever before, because I think people, have this, similar income, that have kind of the stable jobs that you can work from home, but now those people can't travel. So think about, all those people that just used to travel all over the world. And now these people are, kind of sitting at home. They're like, oh, what do I do? I've always wanted to get that piece of jewelry. I always wanted to, now, they're sitting at home like, how can I improve my current living situation? For the first time, maybe they're spending a little bit more time at home. They're spending more time in the living room. Maybe, you're doing all these things that maybe you haven't really done before. So let me buy that speaker system that I've always kind of wanted to buy or never really thought about, but now is a good time. So let me reallocate some of my money. So there's a huge shift in this. You multiply that by the whole world, and you can get some pretty interesting results. So those are two trends I want to kind of point out. Now there's two things two things I wrote down worth considering. They have an interesting supply chain diversification. They manufacture in Malaysia. So apparently this saves against tariffs, and also I hear can help against pandemics. I'm not totally sure. I would have to look more into that, but this is something I've heard before. The big ongoing legal dispute related to patents, another thing worth looking into if you guys are interested and investing in this. Now, one thing I do want to point out, and I'm going to read this really quickly here, and then we could go back to the charts. Sonos has a really cool investor relations page. I highly recommend you guys go through this on your own time. They have good reports, filings, obviously the governance, which is really important. You guys probably know if you're following Netflix at all, they just had a huge realignment on their governance, and that took a big dump on their stock price. Actually, let's go to Finviz actually quickly, and Finviz. NFLX, right? Yeah, so they recently changed their governance. So they recently had a change in their governance, and they took a pretty big hit. I think a 6% dip yesterday. Before that as well, this was this candle wasn't that bad, but over 550 it got really kind of tough. Anyway, they kind of had a little bit of change in their forecasting, kind of update on public relations. I can't find it right now. Again, something you guys can look through on your own time. Probably could have had that kind of popped up ahead of time, but I just thought about it. So yeah, a lot of good things to check out here. Reasons to invest. Obviously, this is probably very biased, but at the same time, they have some really good stats and statistics worth looking into. So guys, always do your own due diligence. I just kind of want to read this here, a few things, and then you guys can look at it on your own time. I would say, and this is my friend that I spoke to, I would say from my own experience that the company made impressive jumps in quality for their services. The app was hard to use and not very aesthetically pleasing back in 2014, 2015, and they improved everything dramatically, including setup, website, and services they offer. Also integrate with voice, AI voice assistant. So I think that speaks to itself. There's a great book on investing from Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street, that I remember reading years ago, and I think everyone could kind of benefit from the most simple summary of this book, and it's basically invest in what you know. If you go every day to Whole Foods, or you shop at Amazon and you just, you love the benefits of it, and this could have been 5-10 years ago. If you, I don't know, you drive a specific car and you're like, this car every year they just nail it. If you, I don't know, you go shopping at certain stores, if you generally enjoy products or you generally don't enjoy products, that is a very simple way to invest right out of the gates. Peter Lynch often says, just invest in what you know. If you use it every day, you are a big testament of that this company is doing something right. So it's really interesting kind of going into the views of an actual user. Here's a good thing he says as well. You get connected to on every day. Connected to people's lifestyles. If you think about it, my day starts and ends with a Sonos products. He listens to a lot of music, so that's definitely true. And it's actually funny because Sonos even says that on their actually public relations website, highly engaged users after purchasing their first Sonos product spend about 80% more time listening to music. Kind of really interesting kind of stats there. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not saying go out and buy this, but I think it is a interesting investment. Now, if I was probably a little bit more aware of this overall Sonos, which I kind of was, but I wasn't really doing too much swing trading back then, I probably would have bought this earlier. I usually like accumulating and then waiting for accumulating at relative lows and then running up here. I do know that this buy is fairly aggressive, but sometimes when you're in the start of a bullish trend, things can go really nice, and it's easy to see companies do 200, 300, 400% before consolidating again. So I would like to see this continue. Like I said, if this pulls back, I would probably end up buying more, but that is totally I don't know, like you'll have to see. That's like nothing is really guaranteed. But what I do like to see about this, and a big confirmation on breakouts, is always big relative volume. So we have huge relative volume here, and here we actually have a decent spike in volume, but it's not enough to make me be like, oh yeah, this is a beautiful breakout. But you can see breakout here has much less volume. We have several attempts here with no volume. So we do have decent volume, and what I also like to see is on a red candle, especially a pullback candle, that there's not a lot of volume. So this is a really good overall bullish sign. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my overall perspective. I would be really interested to hear what you guys think about Sonos. Do you think it is is it a swing trade? Is it a long-term trade? How are you guys trading it? Let's actually go here one last time quickly to FinViz and then just pull up Sono. And let's go through, whoops, I just opened a new window somehow. Must have clicked the wrong button. So going down here, one thing to worth, this is a growth company. You're not getting any dividends. So that's definitely a thing to consider. Now, when I trade my Roth IRA, I'm usually a little bit more aggressive. I'm looking for growth companies, not necessarily value companies. So this really fits my portfolio. My value companies, like let's say me buying AT&T, looking for dividends, that I don't have my Roth IRA because those are long-term holds, which already pay lower taxes. If I'm aggressively swing trading and day trading, I like to do my Roth IRA because then I could obviously avoid taxes. So let's see. Anything else interesting I want to share here? No, not really. Again, I just really recommend you guys always go through these things on your own time. And let me go back here, close this out, and yeah, go through the post. Again, I'm going to leave this link so you guys can go through it on your own time. Again, drop some comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy the content. I'm probably going to do a bit more of these kind of swing trade overviews. I've been getting some good feedback, and I hear you guys are always kind of asking questions about it. So yeah, drop a like, consider subscribing if you're totally new here. We go live every weekday, every day the market's open starting at 9:15 to review our watch list and then trade the market open till about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're new, I would love to see you join the community. It is absolutely wild and growing so fast and just such a good place. I've been learning so much from you guys, so I enjoy it, and I will see you guys first thing on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Ciao.